Hey everybody, this is Tommy Dimsdale with the Dimsdale Debate, and thank you so much for clicking on another link today. This is our weekly video, and this week we're going to be discussing something very important, and that's answering the question, did our Founding Fathers really want religion and the Bible taught in our public schools? Now this does seem to be some kind of universally accepted belief among Christians that indeed it should be taught in schools, but when we get to the motivation side of it, many Christians don't believe that we have an authority on this and believe that we need to leave well enough alone, when in actuality the exact opposite is true. So I'm here today to look over a couple bits of evidence as to why the founders wanted the Bible in our schools and religion. So let's just start off real quick with the Aiken Bible. January 21st, 1781, Robert Aiken, a federally appointed congressional printer, submitted a petition to Congress to print, quote, a neat edition of the Holy Scriptures for the use of our schools. And of course the Congress decided, yes, this is absolutely great. So whenever Robert Aiken finished his draft of the Holy Bible, he decided to submit it to Congress, and they responded saying, "We recommend this edition of the Bible to the inhabitants of the United States and hereby authorize him to publish this recommendation in the manner he shall think proper." Now there's something really odd about this. This is the very first English Bible that was ever printed in the United States. Up to this time, it was illegal for us to be able to print our own Bibles in English. We could do it in Spanish, we could do it in French, we could do it in the Native American tongue, but we could not print our own Bibles in English. The reason being is because they had the Church of England overseas had control of the government of England, which is a clear violation of separation between church and state as it was originally intended, not how it's being used now, but as originally intended, and the church was able to use the sword of prosecution against liberty, individual liberties, individual religious liberties. That's exactly what our founders were fleeing when they, came across on the Mayflower and colonized America. So going from this, we can easily see that when the Congress told him, yes, we believe this is good, it's not only an open endorsement of, the Bible or this project he was doing, but an open endorsement of Christianity, and it was printed by the U.S. Congress. Can you imagine if federally funded dollars were in fact used to print Bibles today, and the government put their stamp of approval on it, saying that we recommend this to the inhabitants of the United States? You know how many crazy liberals will be jumping off the top of roofs?
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America,
Yes, sister, it's some pretty amazing work right there. Hey, it happened, can't change it, won't change it. But let's move on to another bit of information, of evidence of the Founding Fathers wanting to have religion in our schools. And we find it in the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Now, the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 was passed right after the Constitution was ratified. And in it, in Article 3, it states, "Religion, morality, and knowledge, being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged." So this is telling us right here that the purpose of public schools are to promote three things: religion, morality, and knowledge. I thought it was pretty funny that out on this campaign trail I came across this very liberal former high school teacher who just made the argument that no, you can enforce morality or you can promote morality without religion. That being said, she didn't know that I had this quote memorized from George Washington, and he addressed it specifically to what she was saying. "Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity," so everything that we do that gives us prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. "And let us with caution indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion." So he's saying, let's be careful if we start to think about the idea that morality can be maintained without religion. "Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail to the exclusion of religious principle." So we absolutely have to have religion and morality. They're indispensable to support to one another, and if you just have one, it's going to teeter off in the wrong direction. Right now, we live in a nation that just has morality and has a lack of religion. because of this, we don't know who is to deem what is moral and what is immoral. We don't know the difference between right and wrong anymore. Now, morality is Billy feeling like he's Sue today and being confused about his sexuality and thinking it's okay for him to go to the same bathroom that Sue does. This is the corruption of society. This is the very foundation of the corruption of society. But we also can't run a society merely off of religion either. We have to keep in mind that this is what our founding fathers fled from. Because the Church of England was in control of the government of England, whatever it said, you had to do. And if you didn't do it, you were a sinner. Well, not merely just a lawbreaker, but a sinner. And they used the influence of the Bible to compel people to do what they wanted, which is absolutely wrong, which is absolutely heresy. And this is what we fled from when we came over to the colonies. Now, I'll also hear one thing that people have a lot of concern about as well. You can't just preach the Bible in public schools because there's all kind of different religions who are mixed in. Down in the South, not so much, but still, there are Muslims and Buddhists who come into our schools, and that's totally fine. And the founders actually had a very good answer for this as well. Thomas Jefferson, whenever he was writing a bill that would include involving religion in Virginia elementary schools, he stated this very clearly. He says, "No religious reading, instruction, or exercise shall be prescribed or practiced inconsistent with the tenets of any religious sect or denomination." So the founders had an idea of what sound religious principles were. And we have to ask the question, well, what are these sound religious principles? These were principles that could be applied universally to any religion that was good for the society. Specifically, we can hear from Benjamin Franklin, one of the least religious founding fathers. And he says this: "Here is my creed. I believe in one God, the creator of the universe, that he governs it by his providence, that he ought to be worshipped, that the most acceptable servants we render to him is in doing good to his other children, that the soul of man is immortal and will be treated with justice in another life, respecting its conduct in this. These I take to be the fundamental points in all sound religion." So to be more specific, if we look to the 5,000-year leap in chapter 4, it actually outlines 5 principles that Benjamin Franklin laid out here. 1. There exists a creator who made all things, and mankind should recognize and worship him. 2. The Creator has revealed a moral code of behavior for happy living which distinguishes right from wrong. 3. The Creator holds mankind responsible for the way they treat each other. 4. All mankind live beyond this life. And number 5, in the next life, mankind are judged for their conduct in this one. Now, I think it's pretty easy to see that these 5 fundamental principles of all sound religion do not conflict with one another. So if someone came in whose religious beliefs were to go right along with these 5 founding principles, then it's okay and it's good for society. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with a child seeing the 10 Commandments in school every day. And I tell you what, if you want to get rid of this gun problem, if you want to get rid of mass shootings in America, especially at our high schools, it's not a gun problem, it's a sin problem. It's because our children now grow up not knowing the difference between right and wrong, not knowing why it's good to do right or bad to do wrong, because they're only being taught morality and they don't have religion as a foundation to back up that morality and be an actual reason as to why it's good and why it's bad. And one thing I'll hear from more moderate Christians today is the fact that, well, I don't want my kid being taught religion in schools because it's not the job of the teacher to talk about religion, it's for the parents. Well, there's a couple different things that are wrong with this logic. First of all, how's that working out for you, right? We've got mass shootings at schools all over the nation. There needs to be something done, and it's not taking away guns from law-abiding citizens. Number 2, these kids, the only time that they may be able to hear the gospel is maybe from a faculty member or a loving teacher. They don't get taught these things at home because the kids that are raising children now didn't get the Bible in their public schools either. So we are weeding this out of our society as it goes on, and as it goes longer, we're going to end up to be an entirely secular nation because of this logic. And number 3, since when does man's law, or your opinion for that matter, supersede what the Bible says? The Bible states that we are to go forth and make disciples. It doesn't say except if you're a public school teacher. And right now, our public school teachers can come under a lot of heat for sharing the gospel with their students. And I've talked to public school teachers who have done so and still feel hesitant about doing it. There is no way, no reason that any of our public school teachers should feel any kind of harassment or any kind of hesitation for sharing the gospel with their students that they love. And now we're seeing droves of school teachers, of public school teachers, leaving the workforce because they can't stand dealing with the behavioral issues that are in our public schools right now. And frankly, I couldn't blame them. I don't want to deal with somebody else's bratty child all day, especially if there's no way that I can have to influence and bring them to a better behavioral status. Guys, this is something that is very, very important, and I hope that I've laid out enough information today that you can see that our founders did indeed want the Bible, want religion, and Christianity in our public schools. If you'd like, now this doesn't stop right here. You don't watch this video and then say, okay, I'm not going to do anything. This is where action needs to be taken. And if you want to make a difference, you need to share this video, go to your church and talk to people about this. Hey guys, I learned something really cool this weekend. Check it out. Send this link to other people. If you want to support us, however, you can like our channel, you can subscribe to our channel, you can like us on Facebook. If you subscribe, make sure you hit the little bell notification down at the bottom. That's going to make sure that you get a notification whenever we put up a new video, and hopefully we're going to be doing these weekly. But hey, go out, share the good message, and y'all keep fighting the good fight. I'm Tommy Dimsdale with the Dimsdale Debate.